Before we part ways, I want to talk briefly about the journey of the software craftsman. There's 3 stages of learning when you learn to code in an object-oriented language. In stage 1, you learn the basic syntax of the language. That's what we've started together. There is still more for you to learn though. You have to learn about object-oriented concepts and the common frameworks. In the .NET world, there are frameworks for different tasks. For services, there's Windows Communication Foundation. For Windows apps, there's WPF, which also works on Windows Phone. There's also ASP.NET, which is a very rich web framework. All of these things are their own fields of specialization, and they take their own dedication. And there are also ancillary things that you need to learn, like relational databases or NoSQL. Your business may also use different plugins or third-party libraries that you have to learn. There's just so much to learn. The world is enormous in development. But stage 3 is when you learn how to architect testable, reusable, object-oriented code. This takes a long time. It takes years of practice. It's a long journey. At Software Craftsmanship Guild, we have found that if you immerse yourself into a program like ours and you have intense mentorship, we can take somebody from 0 to employable in about 700 hours of experience. If you're learning on your own, if you're learning from books, it can take a lot longer than that. Most developers get to a point where programming medium complexity projects comes naturally at about 4,000 hours of experience. That 2 to 3 year mark, if you go out and you research jobs, it seems like once you hit that mark, you can go almost anywhere in the country where there's IT work to be done, and you're going to get interest from employers. Junior programmers take a little bit more investment to get through the door, and part of that is because a lot of college students come out of college and don't know how to really do anything. They know a lot of theory, but not a lot of practical application of how to put an end-to-end application together through the stack. So a lot of companies have responded to that by requiring 2 to 3 years experience to get into the door. And that's kind of what we're helping with at the Guild. Becoming a master typically takes about 10,000 hours of experience or more. It's around year 5 to 7 is when you start to get really good, as long as you've been practicing. You have to love to learn if you're going to survive in this field. The pace of change is incredibly rapid, and it's getting faster. Any specific framework you learn, especially in the web, has a good chance to be replaced or have fundamental changes every 3 to 5 years. And keeping your skills sharp and marketable is something that often has to be done outside of your normal work week. Your company is going to have specific technologies and specific niches that it uses. If you want to stay marketable and you want to stay employable, you have to practice your skills outside of work and pick up new frameworks and try new things. This is a hobbyist profession. You have to really like doing this stuff. A big problem with traditional college classes is that it can take up to 3 years for a college to get an accredited course into the classroom. So if you wait 3 years before your curriculum gets taught, and then your students have another 2 to 4 years before they get out of school and start using it, chances are whatever you've learned, if it isn't just basic fundamentals, is now obsolete. So I recommend that you go to user groups, meetups, you attend corporate training if you have a job, go to conferences, take online courses, and read books. They're all good tools for staying sharp. Developers often spend as much time researching and planning as they do writing production code. And this is a big misconception for people coming into the field. We deal with this all the time at the Software Craftsmanship Guild. Our apprentices come in thinking, oh, I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to spend 40 hours a week writing code. Not a chance. Ain't going to happen. You're going to have to learn the business domain. You have to write documentation. You have to plan your changes. You have to research bugs. You have to trace through your code. You have to write unit tests. There are so many different things you have to do outside of writing production code. And that's actually kind of cool because it means every day you can be doing something a little bit different. The best non-technical skill you can develop is writing. And that's because agile teams are becoming more popular. This is where IT workers are embedded with non-technical business users. You're all on the same team. You're communicating daily. This communication means that you need to be able to present technical material in a way that's understandable to non-technical people. You have to understand the business and know how to shape the technology skills that you know to bring value to the business. And the only way you're going to be able to convince the business to embark on a path that you recommend is to be persuasive and be able to write things down and show evidence that your way is going to help the business be more profitable. If you can learn to do this, you can rocket up the corporate ladder. A true software craftsman is technology agnostic. I love .NET. It's by far my favorite language, the C# language. I love ASP.NET. I like WPF. But ultimately, there are a lot of languages and frameworks out there that solve problems very well. They all have their own pros and cons. There's no such thing as a silver bullet. There's no one right way to write code. At Software Craftsmanship Guild, we teach both .NET and Java. It doesn't really matter to the business. Your user is never going to open your application and go, oh, this app would be so much better if it was written in Java. They don't know, and they don't care. They want their problem solved. They want their application to be of good quality. So I want you to be very wary of anyone who claims that their way is the only way. There are a lot of people out there, they're very loud on forums, that get kind of religious zealotry over the language that they choose and the framework that they choose. Oh, you shouldn't learn C# because it's Microsoft framework. Or, oh, Ruby is the greatest language ever. Or Python. Or, insert your own technology here. Those people are really misguided. There's pros and cons to every language and every framework. Some frameworks are really good at some things and not so good at others. The true craftsman looks at the business need and determines the best solution for that problem. And best can be shaped by a lot of different things outside of technology. How much time do you have for your project? What's your budget? What's the current skills of the team? Is the team even capable of learning a new framework? You have to take all these things into account and make a good, educated decision. Always take a critical eye towards yourself when you're designing solutions. Is this really the most appropriate solution, or is it just the one you're most comfortable with? I know a lot of developers in the field will only write code in things they already know, even if there's new frameworks and techniques out there that would save them time and money. Try not to be myopic about what you know. Open your experiences up to new frameworks and solutions. Lastly, I want to say that you are not your code. This is very important. You're going to get into code reviews, you're going to show your code to other people, and I can tell you that if you have 8 different people write a solution to something, you're going to come up with 8 different solutions. Don't become emotionally attached to your code. There are going to be people out there that are not going to like your code. You need to listen to their feedback and decide whether they're right or not. Sometimes if that person is your boss, you have to do what they tell you, and that's okay. Don't get emotionally bent out of shape about it. Take every piece of feedback, run it through your internal filter, and decide whether you can learn something from the experience or not. Being dissatisfied with the code you write and being on the lookout for improvements is the way of the software craftsman. I like to tell our apprentices that if you look at your code that you wrote 6 months ago and you can't find things that you don't like about it, you probably haven't learned anything lately. It is perfectly common to look back at your old code and be like, ugh, I would never write that this way. So at the end of the day, keep learning, keep examining, always look for growth. That is the key to staying relevant in this field. I've really enjoyed teaching this course. It's just the basic fundamentals, In the Software Craftsmanship Guild, where we teach 700 hours, this is about 16 hours of content, so you can imagine how much farther we go before people are actually employable. So if you happen to want to take your skills to the next level, I'd love for you to consider us as an option. Otherwise, I wish you luck. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.